Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down the 2025 U.S. housing market. We're going to look at what interest rates did, home prices nationally, the Phoenix market, and what experts are forecasting for the 2026 market. So whether you're buying, selling, investing, or just curious, this video is for you. Of course, first place we'll start is the mortgage rates, 30-year fixed. And we started the year in the sevens, and that shocked a lot of people because going back to 2022 and prior, during the pandemic, we had 3% interest rates for mortgages. Now they're 7, they're more than double. People were scared away, as well as the increase in prices of homes just made homes unaffordable. And you can see for the first half of the year, we stayed sevens, right about 6.5%. But then on September 5th, something changed. And since September 5th, we've seen that we've traded pretty defined range in the low sixes, even hitting 6.1 and 5.99 for at least one day during that period of time. So it's a tale of two parts of the year. From the first of the year all the way through September, we were still pretty high, but September changed everything. And if you missed out in September or even today with low interest rates, there's still time to get in. Question is, do you qualify? Is that good enough? Or are you waiting for mortgage rates to hit 3% again? Here's a hint. They're not going to, unless we have some serious catastrophic damage in the economy. So because of that, in October, we actually saw home sale prices go up, and in November, we saw year over year up 3.3% for home sales in November, which you never usually see. November, December, very slow months in real estate normally. And apart from mortgage rates, the other side of that coin are the home prices themselves. And this is the Case-Shiller Index. If you go back to January 2000, you use 100 as the baseline. So over this last year, we saw prices go up again. We saw them drop during the summer, but then they rose again toward the end of the year. Now these prices, if we go back 10 years ago, we look at prior to the pandemic, home prices were affordable, easily achievable for most people, and then the pandemic hit. And there was so much pent-up demand inside there, and the interest rates fell so far that everybody got into the market. And when everybody gets into the market, home prices go up because there's competition. During this period of time in April of 2021, I had a home for sale in Avondale, Arizona. It's a smaller home, 3-bed, 2-bath. I listed $275. I thought that was a very good price. I thought with the pressure in the marketplace, we'd get $275 easily. I had an open house one weekend, 101 visitors signed into that open house. We had 70 offers on that home by the end of that weekend. That house sold not for $275 but for $316. After explaining all 70 contracts to my client, which we have to do, we have to show them every single offer. We categorized them, we showed where they were, and there was a family. The mother was terminally ill and she wanted to get her children a home, her grown adult children a home before she passed. That's the one my client took. Could we have gotten $340 for it? Probably. But in real estate, it's all about relationships. It's all about people. And my client felt like those people were the most in need. So do you remember when I said that mortgage interest rates dropped in September 5th? So what happened in October and November? We saw increases in prices of homes above last year's trend. And that's common because as interest rates drop, more people have access to the market and you have more buyers, leading to competition. And we can see that home prices increased in 77% of metro areas in the third quarter of 2025. Now, on the last chart that was provided, the Midwest had the highest gain, but now we see the Northeast at 6% increase with a median existing home family price of $540,000. Midwest still doing good at 4.2%, but they're only at $331,000. The South and the West lag behind, with the West dropping price but only 0.1%. And just if you're interested, the 10 markets with the biggest year-over-year median price increases: Trenton, New Jersey, in Michigan, New York, Connecticut, and remember Connecticut, New York, Jersey, White Plains at 8.1%, Manchester, New Hampshire, St. Louis, Missouri, the Bridgeport, Stamford, Newark in Connecticut again with a year-over-year increase, and Toledo, Ohio, finally Cleveland, Ohio. Now the most expensive markets, we also find California, 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 Hawaii, California, 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 and Bridgeport, Stamford, Newark, Norwalk, Connecticut. So even though it's one of the top 10 most expensive places, we find them at number 8 with the biggest year-over-year median price increase. So for most people in the market, I'm telling you something you already know. 2025 was terrible. But can 2026 be better? What's on the horizon right now? And what, if anything, can be done to make housing more affordable in the U.S.? We know that the beginning of the new year, next week, the current administration is planning to hold a roundtable about what to do about housing affordability. And they've already floated a few trial balloons out there. You've probably heard of the 50-year mortgage. I did a video about that. You can watch it right here and see if that's something for you. And before you just dismiss it, watch the video and think if it's something that might be useful for you. A second possible answer is portable mortgage. If you're in a 3% mortgage now, you don't want to sell your house and have to move into a 6% mortgage. A portable mortgage would allow you to carry that loan into your new home. Now, the details of that have to be worked out. Like, is it just the amount that you owe on that current mortgage that you would carry with you into the new home and finance the rest at 6%? Or do you carry the whole interest rate over with you? Those are the things that they have to answer next week. Something else that I've been calling for, and that is to use the Defense Production Act to incentivize builders to build more homes. That's really what we need. You can see by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce estimated that we're at 4.7 million homes short of what we really need. And those are based on actuarial tables regarding new household formations that have been measured historically and what kind of housing we need for that. But even without new programs, what are the experts saying? Well, we can see from the National Association of Realtors 2026 Forecast Summit that they believe that home sales will go up 14% in 2026. And they're pointing to lower mortgage rates. Now, are they saying that mortgage rates are going to dip way down? Not necessarily, but since September 5th, because interest rates have come down and they've settled in that range, if they stay in that range and wages continue to go up, it's going to become more affordable. And if they dip below 6% sometime during the 2026 year, that's even better. It makes it even more affordable. And here we see Dr. Lawrence Yun of NAR, the National Association of Realtors, during that forum. And one thing they were looking at, if mortgage rates drop to 6%, that's a full point from the start of 2025, which means it would unlock an additional 5.5 million additional qualified home buyers, including about 1.6 who are currently renting. And this chart basically shows the increase in households qualifying at lower rates. So the blue is lower and red is higher. And here in parts of Arizona, we can see they're in the red. So we're going to have quite a few more here, whereas California, maybe not as much. And the East Coast, it's a mix, depending on where you're at and how close you are to a metro area, because metro areas tend to be higher priced areas. In addition to lower interest rates, another thing they point to is if the Federal Reserve continues to cut the bank lending rate, that's more money in your pocket when buying goods like cars, refrigerators, things like that. The bank lending rate really is for smaller loans, but if you're paying less interest on those loans, then you have more cash that's disposable than you would have had in 2025. But what about home prices? Because that's going to be the most important thing, along with interest rates staying flat. And from Redfin, and Redfin is a large data aggregator. They bring in a lot of information to try to analyze the market. They feel like that home prices will probably only appreciate 1 to 2% during 2026. So if we have lower consistent interest rates, maybe even going below 6, and we don't have price increases, even without all the programs that the current administration is talking about, they feel like 2026 is going to be a good year. And they do think that they will dip below, into the low 6 range, which we're already at, and they're going to stay there, and that wages will grow faster than prices, and particularly if we have some deflation or disinflation from the 9.1% we had in the last administration. If we can get some of those prices down, we've already seen energy prices come down. Hopefully that'll be a domino effect on the rest of the market. And overall, they believe 3% rise nationwide, but depends on where you live. During the spring selling season, which is about to begin in just a couple weeks, they anticipate a lot more transactions going on during that period of time because interest rates were at 6.8% last year during spring selling, and they're going to be at 6.1 to 6.3 this year, more than likely. So it sounds like generally good news for the market, and if you're looking to buy a home in 2026. But I have a warning. If we try the 50-year mortgage, if we do the portable mortgage, but we don't build more homes, then home prices will continue to go up at a faster clip than the 1 to 3% anticipated by the experts. We have got to build more homes to make sure that we don't create scarcity in the marketplace. Because if we have a ton more buyers come into the market, you're going to get competition. If you get competition, prices rise. So as I hope as we move into 2026, one of the things on the docket for the administration's plan to help housing is building more. If you have any questions, if you want to know more about the Phoenix area, please give me a call. My information is at the end of this video and also on my channel. And I hope you had a great Christmas and looking forward to the new year. Talk to you later. Now, if you're 20 years old and you're just starting out in your career, does it make sense for you to buy a house like that at that time, even with a 50-year mortgage? For many of you, you're in a new mobile type of society where you might move 2 or 3 times for your career before you settle down into a place or a job that you really love and you want to stay with. So it may not make sense for you at 20 years old to buy a home. And renting is just fine. You're not building any equity during those periods of time, but it makes you more mobile. You don't have to worry about taking care of the home. You rent it, you use it, and whenever you're ready to settle down, you can move into finding a mortgage and a home that you want. While you're making your way through life and finding your niche and determining what you really need, you really didn't need to buy a home. You just rented until you found the place you wanted to be, where you're going to stick and stay for at least 5 years. Because if you buy a home and you sell it 2 years later, in most markets, you're going to lose quite a bit of money. The only time that wasn't true is, let's say, if you bought in 2019 and you sold in 2021. You probably made a lot of money then. But that's odd. It's not the norm. So even if we do get the Defense Production Act underway, we have portable mortgages and we have a 50-year mortgage available, you may not be in a position to buy right now if you're 20 years old. But if you're 29, 30, you found what you wanted to do, you're settled, and you want to get into a home, that might be the place. And one note about the 50-year mortgage, you know that 50 years seems like a long time, but you also should know that if you had a 30-year mortgage and you made one extra payment per year, you got that down to about an 18-year mortgage. Why? That extra payment is written on a check that says principal only. You're prepaying principal only, and that's reducing the length of that loan. So even a 50-year mortgage can be reduced quite a bit just by making extra principal payments. And we hope if the economy continues to improve and wages go up, wages are already outpacing inflation, you'll have some extra money to make those additional payments. So something to think about.